Hello, I am Reverend Jeff Will Rumble, and yes, really. So I am getting set to, I'm out here in Azusa, California, foothills of the California San Gabriel Mountains. I'm getting set to do a little social distancing at the old abandoned Felix Mine. I'm going to be digging for fluorite this afternoon. It's a spot that has been known for something like 125 years plus, but it's very rarely visited. And so it's difficult to get there, difficult to find. In fact, it took me 4 tries to find the spot, to be honest with you. So what I'm going to do as a part of this video is let you know how to get there. What I did, I didn't actually talk with anyone who had been there before. What I did is I found the spot just sort of Googling around for rock hounding sites around Southern California, and came across it and looked on a website called Mindat, I think it is, Mindat, MINDAT.com. And if you just, be sure to click on the header maybe a couple of times until you make sure you find, it's got a picture that has a satellite map, an old satellite map, so it's black, which, tells you that it's old. But if you look at that has a spot that says, here's the trail to the diggings. And just below that, toward the town from there, is a long, skinny loop of road. You can see the old road that's there. And if you look at that long, skinny loop and then flip over to the modern Google Maps with the satellite view, you can find that same feature. Now, it's pretty clearly overgrown, and you'll see what I mean when we get there. It's yikes. But it was spotting that particular feature on both maps that gave me the location. That, and also the Mindat site has GPS coordinates, and so I was able to take a little handheld GPS with me that helped me to find the spot. But right now, what you do is you Google for Azusa. You Google Summit Park, Azusa, and that's going to get you to a little street called Camellia. And I am right now standing in the cul-de-sac at the west end of Camellia, and that's where I'm going to start. And I will do that as soon as I get my pack on and load up, and we'll get on our way. So we start out taking this little path around behind these houses. I should say, oh, and the first little stretch is this flood control ditch here, and we'll just run right up this for a little bit. And as we do, and you can see this on the current Google satellite, there's been quite a bit of development over the years, and so the old satellite picture and the current satellite picture have a lot of differences. You can see it on the current Google picture. So we just sort of run right up here to the top of this, and then that's going to get us into the hills. I should mention, if you are not a fairly adventurous soul, if you are not somewhat agile and athletic, this is probably not the trip for you. There's other places around Southern California you can go. Get out in the desert, go to Lavac. You can walk around and pick up beautiful jasper right off the ground there. This takes a lot more to get to this. And with that, I will say, if you have issues with heights, not the trip for you. If you're not really fond of bushwhacking and getting all dirty and stuffing your hair and scratched up and such, not the trip for you. I'm wearing long sleeves specifically because a few weeks ago I came out here and got swarmed by little biting flies, little tiny things. You can't even tell when they're on you and biting you, but a couple hours later the itching starts, and that's nasty. So yeah, be adventurous, be athletic, be ready. This is a full adventure sort of trip. And actually, we'll start that right here. We could go straight up this hill, but what I'm going to do instead, a little easier I found, just to sort of duck, work my way under this thing here, and to get started from here instead. Now, you'll see features of other old flood control stuff. Old flood control stuff here. You'll see a little bit of trail there. We're not going there. We're going up. And there's a little poison oak there. There's a little more right here. We're going to stay underneath it. A little more on up there. And we'll avoid all of that. Get back with you. Get back with you in just a second. Okay, should mention that for a whole lot of this trip, there's not a lot to stand. I mean, it's pretty slippery dirt, basically. There's no good footholds. There's nothing good to hold onto with your hands. It's just, it's that way for the whole way up. Coming up to this interesting little ridge piece. Feet are slipping out from under me as I go. When I look at this, I think, oh, if only it was rock and I could hold on to it, but it's not. It's basically crumbly dirt. So rather than grabbing it and pulling, I just kind of keep my feet low, work along. You can see it's pretty steep down that way. It's just as steep the other way, sort of a knife edge little ridge here. Get to this point, pull up onto it for a step or two, avoid the tree that's trying to knock me off, and right back down. A little more conglomerate dirt, and stay with this for a few steps, and then we'll come on out to the next section up here, which is mostly just some steep trail for a little bit, and we'll work our way on up that. So I mentioned that on the satellite pictures you can see an old road. This in front of me here is that road. Yeah, I know it doesn't look much like a road, but this is it. This is that long skinny loop that I mentioned that helped me to locate where we should be. So it loops around the ridge and continues on down into the next ravine. We're going to follow it up this way. The thing is, for pretty much the entire route, because it's so overgrown, and, you know, we watch out for cactus, of course, we're gonna have to be pushing through stuff and winding around stuff. Waist-high stuff is pretty constant here. Wind back and forth around. Leaning underneath trees and bushes. It's like this the whole trip. So just be aware. We got about a half mile or so on this old little road bit here. Watch for those too. You get stuck by those, you won't be happy. So yeah, like I said, about half a mile or so of winding back and forth through and over and under all of this brush, and it's just how the hike goes. You can see, looking across the little canyon here, the remains of the old road over there. And I think directions on the Mindat site would have you walking up that in order to get to the Felix Mine here. Mentions a place where the road is crumbled at some point, mentions an old crane that is back up inside one of these ravines. I'm not sure which one. The thing is, I'm not even sure how to get to the lower end, because that was written before the recent development, and I don't know if that's shut off. I know there are some chain link fences down that way, and in any event, this way that we're on works. Not easy, a lot of climbing around and over and through stuff, but eventually it works. Okay, so now we have our first view of the super flat, super easy, super safe hillside where we're headed. That the vertical line of little bushes and oak trees and such up there, that conceals a trench, and that trench is the original main digging area of the Felix mine, and there's fluorite veins running through there. A week ago I came out here and tried to access that particular trench, and what I did is I got to this spot where the road is actually going to turn toward the right and work its way back down into that next canyon over here. But I sort of tracked down and then went straight up the hillside to get to the lower end of where that trench is located, and I found it. I got there. It was clearly the right spot, except it just didn't look like it was going to be productive for me. So I then tried to work my way up the left side, or the western side of that trench, and I just could not find a good safe access point to even get in there. It just looked too sketchy for me. So I continued working my way on up the hill, and I ended up at the place where I had been 2 weeks ago, which is actually another set of bushes slightly further up and slightly to the west or left of the top of this. So it's, it's right nearby. It's what, all of 60, 70 yards away. It's very close, but it's just a little bit over from that. That's the original though, I think. From as best I can tell, and there might be a way in, maybe on this near side. I just don't know what that way is, and if it's there, I did not find it. So a little bit further on the road, and then I'll get us back and onto the trail and on up to where we're headed. So this is the point at which the road itself will veer right a little bit and head on down into the canyon there. We don't go there. What we're going to eventually do, we're going to go a little bit and we're going to get up onto this ridge, track the ridge up a little bit, and then work across from there to the spot where we're headed. But what I wanted to do first is come over here and show you the reason that I don't go straight across to the main diggings, the original. If we take these little tracks up here, it starts out looking like it's workable, right? Obviously fairly steep in here, and this degrading granite stuff that we're looking at right here is actually the kind of material that we're going to be working on, that we're going to be digging in. The thing is, as we start to get in here, as you can see, this just doesn't look like a place that I want to be right now. And so, yeah, so I'm going the other way. I looked at this my first time out and my second time out, and I just thought, is that something I want to negotiate? Maybe I could go up that angle. That might work. But what I'm going to do instead is turn around and go back the way that I just mentioned, just because I think that's the better way. So, get back to you in a moment. Okay, so here's my spot. You can see down here is the ridge where we walked up the road, such as it is. You can see down there the cul-de-sac where my truck is still parked. So obviously there's some elevation gain there. If you feel like on the way up you need to stop and breathe for a little bit, you are forgiven. But right up in here under this bush is where there is a vein or two of fluorite back in the coming out through the crumbly granite, and that's what this rock is. It's old, degrading, crumbly, and that's also, by the way, why I wasn't willing to climb up that other spot. That rock is just not reliable. There's no way that is worthy of really trusting your life with handholds and footholds, especially not when you're not wearing a harness and, you know, good solid protection, rope, reliable belayer, etc. So in any event, this is where I've landed, and gonna get on up in there and set up. Okay, so I've been working away at this a little bit. I've got this pushed back a bit. I've got some stuff dug out all around and down below. And what I'm looking at now is, if you can see right in here, there's a little bit of a darker looking, those are pieces of fluorite that are sticking out, and I'm sort of grinding away, trying to work my way around the outside so that then the massive stuff in the middle can come out without just, you know, jamming on it and cracking it. It's a little tough because this stuff tends to be fragile. So working at that, and I'll stick with it. Okay, so after a mostly frustrating afternoon, I have just found a nicer spot of thicker stuff right back in here. So this is what I'm going to work on now, and not sure exactly how far in it goes or out to the sides, but I'm going to work on that, and that's going to give me my nicer stuff for the day, guaranteed, because up until now all I've found is little tiny things. So this is good. This is good. I'm encouraged. Okay, so sun's starting to go down. I think we're starting to lose the light. Try not to be too quick moving you around here. So I'll get a better view once we actually walk down the hill here out of the little digging area. As you can see in here, moved quite a bit of rock and dug back in there today. I think it came out to here. I think I've moved back quite a bit. I didn't find anything as thick and solid and substantial and I think awesomely wonderful as I found when I was here a week ago, but got a nice baggie full of stuff, and we'll see what happens, what it looks like once I get it home and cleaned up, and hopefully there will be some nice pieces in there, something thick enough to be worthwhile. With that, I'm going to clean up my stuff and then start working my way back down. You can see out that way, lights are already starting to come on, and headlights and all of that. So, and I've got to hike back down that steep hill. So, gonna clean up now. Okay, so that was yesterday on Saturday. Today is Sunday afternoon. A little bit of a grayish day here in Southern California, but I wanted to show you what we ended up with. This isn't nearly all of it, but these pieces here are the better pieces from yesterday's trip, from yesterday's work. So, you know, we've got a little bit of this. This is fluorite, looks like. Unfortunately, here, this one's kind of cool. It's got a whole lot of different crystals together, stuck on what is called matrix, and so that's pretty nice little specimen piece. Unfortunately, these are smaller and a little more, they have more internal stuff, internal fractures and such, than I'd prefer. Interestingly, this one here actually has some blue out toward the end here. Fluorite can come in a lot of different colors. It can be blue, green, purple, pink, clear, I guess even brown sometimes. But most of what is found out at the Felix Mine is green. So to get even a little bit of blue like this is unusual and pretty awesome. I like that. Unfortunately, they're all kind of small. As I said, they're not as great inside. They don't quite match up with some of the pieces I've gotten from that same hole earlier. So some of these others I think are better. This one in particular here will probably become a cut stone, and this is from a week ago, previous week. This one here is a really nice, really neat specimen, much bigger obviously, and it's got a whole lot of little crystal termination points all over the top here. So anyway, that's fluorite. That's the Felix Mine. I hope that you have great adventures too.